Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Back on the side tables. I'm going to tell you this project has quickly become a nightmare. Not because it's difficult to do, but because everything I've run into has been of my own doing. Shame on me for 6 weeks. It's mistakes that I've made, which are going to change on the second table, but I'm going to bring you around and I'm going to show you where I messed up, how I hopefully have fixed it, and what's going to be a little bit different on the next table. One minor thing on the next table. But yeah, let me go ahead and bring you around this side. So first thing I ran into, my 45s on these corners were not measured correctly because I did not measure these cutouts correctly. And that was throwing a lot of things off. So I was able to, the problem was I cut them too deep. Well, you can't add wood to make it work. So I basically cut these a 16th on each side and a 16th on each end. And that gave me the 1.5 inches that I needed for my 45s, because as it turns out, that's what these are. I kept saying 1 5/8, and that's incorrect. On the second table, as it turns out, they are 1 5/8 because I did it differently, and that's fine. Instead of cutting them on the miter saw, I cut these on the table saw. As you can see, I have my miter slot jig thing. What's that thing called? Whatever that is over there. I have that in there. I also use that to cut my 45s on the second table because I'm having a little bit of trust issues with my miter saw right now. I need to recalibrate it. So now, oh, the other problem. Okay, let's talk about these. Oh, sorry, just banging into stuff here. These are my biscuit joints, and I don't know how well that's going to show up because I did a really good job of hiding it. But the original cut was up here. My intention was to have the table skirt all the way at the edge of the legs. Well, that's not going to work, okay, because it's just not going to work. So I had to essentially cut pieces to fill this biscuit hole that I made and then recut a new one where it needed to be. So that's done. You noticed a little cut on this. That's an experiment, which I'm going to end up doing because I wanted to. On the second table, one of the problems that I'm ran into that I'm fixing is this is a 1/4 inch of meat right here. Well, during assembly, one of these boop, snapped off. So on the second table, this is going to be 3/8. I know it's just an 1/8 inch difference, but it's going to make a big difference. It's going to give me a little bit added strength up here. So all of that, and now hopefully we're ready to move on. Now, as I said, all of these problems were of my own doing. Again, haste makes waste. I was trying to hurry. And when you hurry, you do things like cut off your fingers. I didn't cut off my fingers, but you make mistakes. So now I am back to, okay, let's move on to the next step. I have made some other decisions. I said that the top shelf would remain a rectangle, whereas the second and third shelf would have some kind of a decorative cutout. I'm not going to do that. I changed my mind on that. I kind of like the idea of just having the full rectangle. So we're not going to do that. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to round over these sharp corners, okay? At least on the outside. So one thing is I have grandkids, and that's really sharp, and it doesn't need to be sharp anyway. So I may end up doing all of them except for the inside one, because if I try to hit that with a round over, it might eject again. And so I think what I may do is just do 3 of the 4 corners and round them over. I think that my table skirts are going to be okay. They're going to be really close. after cutting this. So next on the agenda is to just start doing some roundovers on the legs, and then I really think we're ready to start assembly. I'm going to sand everything, and hopefully this goes together. I joked with some people in the comments, and Chris, by the way, I did end up cutting these dados on the table saw. It was a better way to do it. I'm not as accurate doing that way, and that's why I didn't on this one. But it does make a nicer cut, and it is easier to do. So I used the same jig, but I did it on the table saw. It made more sense. So yeah, let's get these rounded over, get this sanded, and then I'm going to glue it together and then stain it, which goes against what I normally do. But for that to work, this needs to be in glue up tonight. I do have all the pieces cut for the second one, which did involve, yes, you guessed it, milling up more lumber. And after I got done milling it up, I found out that I actually had the piece I need. I just lost it. But anyway, let's get to rounding over. Okay, so two things. Yes, I ran it through the roundover twice. Once going one direction, once going the other. It's just a mental thing for me. I think it gives a more complete roundover. The other thing, I don't know which one it was. This one. Here's what I didn't take into consideration. As soon as that top bearing loses something to ride on, it's going to dig in, and that's what it did. That's why I stopped in that one cut. That's okay. My wife has already decided that the first table that's going to be a train wreck, that's the one going against the, between the couch and the wall. So little boo-boos are okay. Now I'm going to move over to the miter saw and cut this detail right here using the same jig that I used for this. And my saw goes up to, this goes up to 11. Anyone see that movie? Anyway, my saw actually goes up to 65. I'm going to cut these at a 60. I think it's a nice angle. It just takes that sharp off of it. So let me go over there and we'll start that. Okay. So all of those are cut now. Now I'm down to sanding. I thought maybe I would round over the shelves, but I don't know. It wouldn't take much to do it. At least the top shelf. Yeah, I should. Okay. A great result for just 2 minutes of work, and it makes the wifey poo happy. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this. Now, I had already previously sanded most of this with a 120, so I'm going to go ahead and jump up to a 220. This is going to get stained. You could probably go to a 120 and stain. That's fine, but I'm going to use a 220, get all of this stuff stained up, and I think I have a game plan for gluing this up. And we'll talk about that once this is sanded up. I do, that's to finish my thought previously. In the comments, I told someone that this is just a smidgen above my pay grade. This particular project, I'm stretching myself on this. I'm learning from it, but it's a little bit above my pay grade. So let me get the sand in here, and nobody wants to watch that. I'm gonna put some earplugs in. Okay, done sanding. Yes, sanding's horrible, but you got to do it. So again, I've been thinking about this glue up and how I was going to do this and how things were going to stay square and everything like that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue my aprons into place, or skirts, or whatever you want to call them. Stringers, I think I called them on the other video. That way I can make the legs square to the aprons. And then I can start working with the shelves and adjust them accordingly to what I have. What I'm going to try and do, and I don't know if it's going to work, is I'm going to try and glue one long one and the two shorter ones at the same time. Not sure if that's going to work or not. I'm going to try it. I'm not sure how I'm going to clamp the shorter ones. That's the problem that I'm running into. So where's my glue? See what happens when you put things away? Okay. Let's get some clampage. I got to use these big monster clamps. Okay. Okay. Sure. Okay. Now, the other thing I did, because these are notorious for denting the wood, I just cut some little scrap pieces to kind of hopefully not have that. Oh, mercy. Either I'm getting weaker or this bottle's getting stronger. I'm not really sure what the case is here. Okay. We're just going to hopefully not splooge glue everywhere, but it could happen. Now, according to Norm on New Yankee Workshop, the way these biscuits work is that they swell. And that's what makes them do whatever it is they do. So, I mean, it's kind of like a domino joiner, like a domino thing, the really expensive thing. It's just on a much smaller scale. At least that's what I'm telling myself. I did go ahead and round over the bottom of the aprons also. I just kind of went round over crazy once I got started. And basically I'm lining the top of the apron up with this bottom of this dado. That should make it perfect. Should being the operative word here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get a clamp on this and make sure it's square. Oh, it's beautiful. Get out. I mean, this could very well end up being the most square thing I've ever built. And there, I jinxed it. I'm going to give that a half a crank. Make sure I'm lined up where I need to be. Huh. I expected it to be more stressful. That's why I seem surprised. I'm going to try this, and if this doesn't work, I'm just going to do that part later. I really need more light in here because that is a pain in the butt. Am I going to be able to do this? I mean, I could just do it like that. I think that would be okay. How am I going to move it? Because I need to move it because I got another one I got to do. That's future Fred's problem. Where's my... Where am I going to move it to? Table saw. Sure, let's do that. I feel like that needs to go down a little bit. Nope, looks good where it's at. Oh, it's upside down, you idiot. Wow. That just doesn't want to go on. Wondering if I should just get another one. Except that's all gooey and yucky now. Ugh. That seems better. Oh, yeah. Okay, same lineup. Okay, got them in glue. That one does have, it's 90, and I think that's going to be just fine. Got this one in. This side wanted to fight me, so I just clamped a square to it, and now it ain't got a choice, right? It's going to be square, whether it wants to or not. So I'm going to let this dry, probably for an hour or two, and then come back out, and we can finish assembly, because it has to be glued tonight if I have any hopes of getting this thing done. So finish gluing it together a little bit later on, after dinner, to be honest with you. And then tomorrow I should be able to get it stain. Do I have stain? I'll make something. I don't know. Which means tomorrow poly, probably 2 coats. Probably Sunday, maybe 3 coats if I get an early jump on it. We'll see. If I can get 3 coats on this, that would be amazing. Okay, anyway, that's the game plan. Dinner time. Okay, dinner was awesome. You know, I would like to tell you that I just am ready to come out and glue this together, but it wasn't that easy. The initial glue up, the pieces, that went great. Everything is perfect on that. You know I don't hide mistakes from you guys. And what had happened was my shelves were wider than my apron on the shorter side. So I had to cut all of them down and resand them and re-round them over. And I think I'm to a point where I can start gluing this up. This is going to be a nightmare. There ain't no 2 ways about it. And I don't know that it's going to come out 100% square. As long as it doesn't have a wobble, that's really my biggest thing. I don't want it to wobble. No, it's going on carpet. Who cares? Nah, I care. Okay? I care. What I'm going to have to do, oh boy, is essentially glue up. I'm going to glue the shelves slots first. Then I'm going to glue the biscuit. Then I'm going to get the other side and glue those slots, and then glue those biscuits and set it down in. Ready? Break. Yeah. I don't know if you can see me, but I got the wobble out. See you in the morning. Okay, obviously, got it out of clamps. Everything looks pretty good. The glue up is solid. And that was my biggest concern, was that it was not, it was just going to be janky. We don't want no janky furniture. Spent about the past hour going through, making sure there was no dried glue, which there was. Getting rid of all of that, doing some touch-up sanding. Speaking of dried glue, get you a sharp chisel, keep it flat, and it'll act like a scraper and take that glue off of there. There we go. Gonzo. Very nice. Okay. Now, just put that anywhere. That'll be fine. I put you up here for a reason. Please stay where I put you. I can't tell you what color I'm staining this because I don't have a clue. This is this can started out as early American, and then I found out on one project that I didn't have enough, so I dumped a half a pint of Provincial in it, and there wasn't enough to do this project, so I had a can. I think it was Rust-Oleum stain. It was just called True Brown. I don't have any idea what color that is. So basically what I'm telling you is I'm working with a hodgepodge, okay? But it'll be brown. I'm hoping it doesn't end up darker than what I want this to be. But you know what? It's what I got. And that's what I'm going to work with. Now, I have a towel down because there's all kinds of junk on my bench. And I would like for this to not get stains on it, except for the stain I'm putting on it. Oh, it's almost time to reorder some gloves. Oh, I think I got one pair left after that. Okay. I'm going to say that this stain color came out to be kind of like walnut. It's not the worst color in the world, but it's a little bit darker than I wanted it. It'll be okay. Okay, it's stained. I went in. It's been not long enough. It's been just over 3 hours, maybe 3.5 since I stained this. Why is that a problem? Well, for one thing, I'm getting dust all over it. So there you go. The darker your stain, the longer it needs to sit. That's just the way that it is. And I know a lot of guys just, they don't stain anything. Well, I'm matching a decor. So, but for my evil genius plan to work and have this video actually done this week instead of dragging you along again, I need to get a coat on this tonight. It is a little bit after 6, and I don't know if I have enough poly. I know I have enough to do a coat. I don't know if I have enough to do 3 coats. This is some Varathane poly, and I quit using it, and I don't know why, but for a first coat, it's going to be fine. I think there's enough in there for a first coat. This is my Min Wax, which probably end up finishing with that. And oh, by the way, found my can opener. You know where it was? Of course you don't. I do. I didn't. That's a lie. I took the poly in the house. There was a project a couple videos ago that I actually had to finish in the house. So yeah, that's where my can opener was. Tips for this if you have to rush this, okay? You've heard me talk about stain leaving lap marks, okay? And what that is an overlap mark. One of the other things that you'll run into is what I call bleeding. okay? And that's where you'll actually start taking the stain off because it's not 100% dry. And you know that you run into this whenever you dip your brush into the poly and you're seeing brown. Yeah, that's the stain coming off. My biggest tip for this is just get the poly on there. Okay, that's all you need to do. The more you work it, once it's on, the more likely you're going to lose stain. Your goal here is not to have a pristine finish on the first coat. Just get it on there. Okay, get it coated. So we're going to flip this bad animal over. Golly Moses, build it out of oak. It'll be great. Okay. And basically, I'm just doing the same thing over again. It's not coming off on my fingers, so it's going to be kind of okay. Okay, here I go. You don't need to watch this. This is kind of boring, and I'm going to turn some music on so I don't lose my mind. So here we go. Okay, first coat's done. Didn't take near as long as I thought it was going to. Maybe it's because I had music playing. Another recommendation is have some kind of light. Oddly enough, this one's actually doing a good job. That you can look across and say, oh, that's where I missed. But here's the thing. Just cover it right the first. I don't want to say cover it right the first time. In other words, if I'm doing this shelf and I look and I'm like, okay, I know 100% sure that's covered, and I get to this side and it starts to look splotchy, it's because it's starting to set up. It's already starting its drying process. Okay, don't go back over it. I am using a water-based polyurethane simply because it's what I have. I like oil-based polyurethane, except that it takes forever to dry, and yes, it stinks. But I spent 16 years of my life smelling that, so I'm used to it. But this will completely dry overnight. Again, if there's runs, if there's stuff like that, I'm not over there. There shouldn't be, but if there is, I can give this a light sanding. Throw the second coat on. Second coat isn't as dramatic as the first because this should be at least sealed. Okay, should be, unless I missed a spot. All right. I'm going to give this 2 coats tomorrow, and I'll just show you what it looks like when it's done. You don't need to see me, you know, spreading the stuff. But hey, dowel rod. 2 different people recommended that. It's a brilliant, brilliant idea. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, big news. No, not really. As you can tell by my apparel, it had turned sharply colder. This is sitting at 1 coat of urethane. But it's done enough that I can show you and finally end this video what it turned out like. I am not allowed to take it into the house until the second one is finished. This is my wife's way of making sure that they'll both get done. She's pretty bright, actually, because if this is just hanging out on my bench, I ain't got no room to do nothing else. I got to build the other one. So let me go ahead and bring you around here and I'll show you how it turned out. Okay, I'm going to make this as unshaky as possible. But there it is. As I said, the color, although I wanted provincial, this probably most likely comes out closer to dark walnut. Doesn't have quite the golden tone in it that I wanted. Things that I will point out to you, even though you're not supposed to point out your mistakes. When this came together, okay, the table skirt was sticking out a little bit further than the top. Not horrible, a 16th in some places, 1/8 inch to another. So I just sanded it down flush. Just put an 80 grit on, sanded it so it came out flush. It only happened on the sides. The ends came out great. Okay. If you look, even after all of the work I put into this, you can't see that. Let me turn this. There we go. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but even still, as much as I worried about getting these joints as close together as possible, there's still a little bit of gap in there. And there's a gap over here. and there's a gap over here. And if you remember when we looked on that original one, the one that's in the house, there's a gap in that also. And I thought, well, that's just shoddy workmanship. Well, it's not. What I'm finding out is that this particular type of joinery is, well, it's just hard. It's just hard to do. But I'm happy with the way it turned out. The wifey poo is happy with the way it turned out. And she's not even giving me too much grief that it ended up a little bit more narrow than what it was supposed to. This is supposed to be 12 by 24. By the time I did everything to get everything on here to fit, it ended up closer to like 11 3/4, but that's okay. As I said, this has one coat of urethane on it now. I am going to have to put 2 more coats on it before it goes in the house. And the wifey poo definitely will not allow this in the house until both of them are coming in. So I appreciate you guys sticking around for 3 videos. I wasn't expecting this to be drug out this far. It just kind of happened that way. I'm glad that this one is done and the video is done, because now we're coming into Lent and I'm going to be slammed for 5 weeks. Still looking at putting a video out every week, even though I said I was going to do every other week, but I'm going to try and do every week anyway. This one tested me. This one pushed me. It stretched me. It aggravated me. You name it. But I'm glad I did it. Now, with that being said, will I ever build a table like this again? No. No, this was a one and done. Just to see if I could do it. It's a neat design for a table. It may not be the most effective design for a table, but I'm glad I did it. I did learn some things from doing this, as every project you learn from. But again, I'm glad you guys stuck around for 3 videos. Oddly enough, the first video did amazing. It did amazing in views. Second video, it's like half the people didn't come back to watch it. So we'll see how this video does. Again, I probably don't care. It is what it is. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for hanging out with me in the shop for a couple weeks. I appreciate it. I'll see you on the next one. God bless.